Willbrook had always been a town where secrets didn't stay secret for long. With 25,000 residents, 3 factories, 2 shopping malls, and 1 main street, everyone knew their neighbors and their business. But even in a place like this, people knew how to keep their secrets. Vanessa Reynolds woke up in her 1-room apartment on Maple Street at 6:30 in the morning. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains, illuminating the modestly furnished room. A bed, a small table, an old TV, and a bookshelf filled with business and psychology textbooks. At first glance, it was the ordinary life of an ordinary 28-year-old woman. She got up, stretched, and walked over to the mirror. The reflection showed an attractive woman of medium height with chestnut hair and intelligent green eyes. Vanessa studied her face, as she had done every morning for the past 3 years. She looked for signs of fatigue, traces of the previous night, anything that might give away her second life. "1 more year," she whispered to her reflection. "1.5 years at most, and I can get out of here." Vanessa worked during the day as an administrator at Dr. Henderson's dental clinic. It was a boring, low-paying job that barely covered her rent and food, but it served as the perfect cover for her real job. In the evenings, Vanessa Reynolds disappeared, and Tiffany appeared, one of the most sought-after girls at Tom Jackson's Escort agency. The difference between her 2 personalities was striking. Vanessa wore modest clothes, minimal makeup, and her hair tied back in a ponytail. She was quiet, polite, almost invisible. Tiffany, on the other hand, was a completely different story. Bright dresses, professional makeup, a confident gait, and a charming smile. She knew how to be exactly what the client wanted: a mysterious stranger, an understanding friend, a passionate lover. Tom Jackson found her 2 years ago when Vanessa was desperately looking for a way to pay for her mother's treatment. Pancreatic cancer left no time to think about moral principles. Tom, a former police officer, understood her desperation and offered a way out. His agency was small but reliable. 5 girls, a steady clientele, no problems with the law. "It's temporary," he said at the time, "until you sort out your problems." Her mother died 6 months after starting treatment. But Vanessa didn't leave. The money she earned in a few hours with a client exceeded her monthly salary at the clinic. She started saving for the future: college, a new life in a big city where no one would know her past. On that Monday, March 15th, Vanessa was working at the clinic as usual. She was registering patients, answering phone calls, filling out charts. Dr. Henderson was a kind old man who never asked unnecessary questions about how his administrator could afford an expensive handbag or new shoes. "Vanessa, are you leaving early today?" he asked around 4 o'clock. "Yes, Dr. Henderson. I have accounting class." Another lie. She had accumulated so many that sometimes she forgot what she had said and to whom. Tom had asked her to meet with a new client. She didn't usually work on Mondays, but this man insisted on that day and was willing to pay double. At home, Vanessa went through her usual transformation ritual: shower, hair, makeup. She put on a black dress that accentuated her figure but wasn't vulgar. High heels, expensive perfume, gold earrings. The woman staring back at her in the mirror was no longer a modest administrator but a confident Tiffany. Tom had arranged to meet her at the Pine Valley Motel on the outskirts of town. It was their usual place, clean, safe, and the owner didn't ask any questions. Vanessa arrived first, as always. Tom taught his girls to control the situation from the very beginning. Room 15 was standard: a double bed, a TV, and a small table by the window. Vanessa checked the bathroom, made sure everything was in order, and sat down to wait. Tom said the client would arrive at 7. At 7:05, there was a knock on the door. Vanessa took a deep breath, put on her professional smile, and opened the door. Standing in front of her was a man of medium height, about 35 years old, with dark hair and gray eyes. He was dressed simply: jeans, a plaid shirt, and a leather jacket. Nothing special, just a typical Willbrook resident. But something in his gaze made Vanessa instinctively tense up. "Tiffany?" His voice was quiet and uncertain. "Yes, that's me." "Are you Oscar?" He nodded and entered, looking around cautiously. Vanessa closed the door and turned to face him. Most clients were nervous at first, especially new ones. but this man seemed less nervous than stunned. "You're very beautiful," he said suddenly. "Thank you. Would you like something to drink? I have whiskey." Oscar shook his head, still staring at her. "I thought you'd be different." "Different? In what way?" "I don't know. Just different." Vanessa turned on a brighter light and moved closer to him. Now she could see him better. A tired face, calloused hands, the smell of machine oil. A working man, probably from one of the factories or a car repair shop. "Tom said this is your first time?" "Yes." Oscar lowered his eyes. "I just got divorced. My friends said it would help." The standard story. Vanessa had heard it dozens of times. Divorce, loneliness, trying to fill the void. She walked over to him and gently touched his hand. "It's okay. We can just talk if you want." Oscar flinched at her touch and looked at her with such intensity that Vanessa involuntarily took a step back. "No," he said. "I want to be with you." The next hour passed strangely. Oscar was gentle, almost timid, but he never took his eyes off her. He studied every detail of her face, memorizing every gesture. When she asked what he did for a living, he told her he worked as a mechanic at Sam's Auto Repair on Oak Street. "I've always been good with my hands," he said, stroking her hair. "I can fix anything." "That's a useful skill," Vanessa replied, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. "Yes, I can fix anything that's broken, make things work right." Something in his tone made her wary, but time was running out, and she began to get ready to leave. "Can I see you again?" Oscar asked as he got dressed. "Sure. Contact Tom. He'll arrange everything." "Tomorrow?" "I don't have time tomorrow." "The day after tomorrow?" Vanessa hesitated. Something about his behavior bothered her, but she couldn't put her finger on it. "I'll check my schedule and let Tom know." Oscar nodded, but the look on his face showed that he wasn't satisfied with her answer. He paid and left, but before he went, he looked at her intently once more. "Good night, Tiffany." "Good night." When the door closed, Vanessa sat down on her bed and took a deep breath. Something was wrong with this man. She couldn't explain what it was, but she felt it intuitively. Maybe she was just tired after a long day. She gathered her things and left the room. In the car, she took out her phone and dialed Tom's number. "How did it go?" he asked. "Fine, but I'd rather not work with him again." "Any problems?" "No, just a gut feeling." Tom was silent for a moment. He trusted his girlfriend's instincts. "Okay, I'll tell him you're busy for the next few days." "Thanks." Vanessa hung up and drove home. She didn't know that Oscar Carlson was sitting in his car in the motel parking lot, watching her drive away. He had memorized her license plate number and was already planning how to find out where she lived. For Oscar, it wasn't just a date with an escort. It was a meeting with a woman who he decided had been created especially for him. A woman who understood him and accepted him for who he was. A woman who was meant to be his. He didn't understand that what he took for understanding and acceptance was just professionalism. That Tiffany was a mask, not a real person. That the woman who had spent an hour with him was actually counting the minutes until he left. Oscar Carlson had fallen in love with an illusion, and that illusion would be the beginning of a 2-year obsession that would end in tragedy. 2 weeks after their first meeting, Tom Jackson called Vanessa with bad news. "He's insisting," Tom said, his voice sounding tired. "He calls every day. He's offering triple the rate." Vanessa was sitting in her apartment, drinking her evening coffee and getting ready for a quiet night at home. Tom's call ruined her plans. "I told you, I don't want to work with him." "I know, but he won't take no for an answer. He says you're the only one he wants. He's offering $1,500 for the evening." Vanessa was silent. $1,500 was a huge amount for Willbrook, more than she earned in a month at the clinic. "There's something wrong with that guy, Tom." "I understand, but he doesn't break the rules. He pays up front, he's polite, he's not violent. Maybe you were just nervous the first time?" Vanessa knew Tom wasn't insisting for no reason. His agency was going through a rough patch. Competition from websites, new laws, general economic instability. $1,500 was serious money for everyone. "Okay," she said finally, "but just this once, and I want you to be there. Deal. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., same motel. The next day, Vanessa couldn't concentrate on her work. Something about her meeting with Oscar kept bothering her. It wasn't that he was aggressive or rude. On the contrary, he was too gentle, too attentive, too obsessed. Dr. Henderson noticed her distraction. "Vanessa, are you feeling all right? You seem troubled." "I'm fine, doctor. I just didn't sleep very well." "Maybe you should take the day off. I can handle it myself." Vanessa was grateful for his concern, but she couldn't afford to miss a day of work. Every dollar was important for her plan to escape Willbrook. That evening, she went through her ritual of transforming into Tiffany again. But this time, she chose a more modest dress and minimal makeup. Her intuition told her not to give Oscar any more fuel for his fantasies. She met Tom at the Pine Valley Motel. He was waiting for her in his car in the parking lot. "Remember," he said, "I'll be in the next room. If anything goes wrong, just knock on the wall." "Thanks." Tom looked at her intently. "Listen, if you really don't feel comfortable, we can cancel the meeting. Money isn't the most important thing." "No, it's fine. It's just work." But when she entered room 15, Vanessa realized she had made a mistake. The room was filled with flowers, white roses, her favorite. How could he know she loved white roses? On the table was a bottle of expensive wine and a box of chocolates. Next to it was a card that read, "To the most beautiful woman in the world." Oscar Vanessa felt a chill run down her spine. This was too much, too personal, too romantic. She had been in this business long enough to know the difference between a client and an admirer. A knock at the door made her jump. She took a deep breath and opened it. Oscar looked better than last time. He had a new shirt, fresh cologne, and neatly combed hair. But his eyes were the same, too intense, too attentive. "Tiffany," he said, relief evident in his voice. "I thought I'd never see you again." "Hi, Oscar. The flowers are beautiful." "Do you like them? I remember you said you loved white roses." Vanessa froze. She had never told him her favorite color. Never. "I don't remember telling you that." "Maybe I was mistaken." Oscar smiled, but there was a flash of anxiety in his eyes. Just a hunch. He entered the room and immediately moved closer to her than was comfortable. Vanessa instinctively stepped back. "You look stunning," he said, studying her face. "But you look tired. Have you been working hard?" "A little. I think about you every day." Every minute, Vanessa felt her pulse quicken. This was wrong. Clients weren't supposed to say things like that. It crossed the line of a professional relationship. "Oscar, maybe we should talk about—" "I know you feel the same way," he interrupted. "I saw it in your eyes last time. The connection between us. It's not just work." "It is work. I think you have the wrong idea about—" "No." Oscar grabbed her hands. "Don't say that. I know that what we have is special." Vanessa tried to pull away, but his grip was strong. "Oscar, let me go." He let go, but didn't move away. He stood too close, looking too intently. "I'm sorry. I've just been waiting so long to see you." Vanessa moved toward the window, trying to create some distance. She could see Tom's car in the parking lot, and that calmed her a little. "Tell me about yourself," she said, trying to steer the conversation back to normal. "How's work?" "Work doesn't matter. All that matters is that I'm here with you." The next hour was a nightmare. Oscar wouldn't stop talking about his feelings, about how she had changed his life, about how they were meant for each other. He knew details he shouldn't have known. That she drank her coffee with 2 spoons of sugar, that she had a small scar on her left arm, that she fidgeted with her hair when she was nervous. "How do you know that?" she finally asked. "I'm an observant person. I notice details about the people I love. You don't know me. You've only met me once. I know everything I need to know. I know you're kind, intelligent, beautiful. I know you're lonely and need someone to take care of you." Vanessa realized the situation was getting out of control. She stood up and walked to the door. "I think our time is up." "No, it's early. I paid for the whole evening." "But I feel uncomfortable. I want to leave." Oscar also stood up and a flash of anger crossed his eyes. "You can't just leave. Not after what's happening between us." "Nothing is happening between us. This is work. Don't lie to yourself and don't lie to me." Vanessa walked over to the wall where Tom was supposed to be and knocked 3 times. A code signal. "What are you doing?" Oscar asked, calling for help. A minute later, there was a knock at the door. Vanessa opened it and saw Tom, a large, strong man. He immediately assessed the situation. Problems? "I want to end the meeting," said Vanessa. Tom looked at Oscar, who was standing in the middle of the room with a look of shock and anger on his face. "Listen, buddy, the lady said she wants to end it. That means we're done." "This is between me and her," Oscar said. "No, this is between me and you. I own the agency, my girls, my rules." Oscar looked at Tom, then at Vanessa. There was pain in his eyes, but also something darker. "Fine," he said finally. "I'll leave, but this isn't over." "It's definitely over," said Tom. "Don't call again." Oscar picked up his jacket and headed for the door, but before he left, he turned back to Vanessa. "I know you feel the same way about me. Sooner or later, you'll admit it." When he left, Vanessa sank onto the bed and covered her face with her hands. "It's okay," Tom said. "He won't bother you anymore." "Tom, there's something wrong with him. He knew things he shouldn't have known." "What things?" "My habits, details about my appearance. It's like he's been watching me." Tom frowned. "You think he's been following you?" "I don't know, but something's not right." Tom helped her gather her things and walked her to her car. But as Vanessa drove home, she didn't notice that another car was following her. A blue Ford pickup truck kept its distance, but didn't lose sight of her. Oscar had been following her for 3 weeks. He knew where she lived, where she worked, which store she shopped at. He knew she went to the library on Thursdays, that she liked Starbucks on Main Street, that she had a brother who was in college. For Oscar, it wasn't stalking. It was research. He was studying the woman he loved, trying to understand her habits, her preferences, her daily routine. He wanted to know everything about her so he could be the perfect man for her. He didn't realize that his behavior was unhealthy, that his love was an obsession, that the woman he idealized didn't exist. She was just a professional mask. At home, Vanessa called her brother Michael. She needed normal human interaction after this nightmare. "Hi, Vanessa. How are you?" "Fine. How's school?" "Difficult, but interesting. Exams are coming up soon. Listen, I was thinking of coming home for the weekend. It's been a long time since we've seen each other." "That would be great." Michael was the only person in her life who knew the real Vanessa. Not Tiffany, not the clinic administrator, just her. He didn't know about her second job, and she intended to keep it that way. "You sound upset. What's wrong?" "Just tired. Work, you know." "Maybe you should find something else. You're too smart for that job." If only he knew, Vanessa thought. If only he knew what she really did for a living. "It's okay, Michael. Just a rough patch." After talking to her brother, Vanessa felt better. But when she went to bed, she couldn't fall asleep for a long time. She thought about Oscar's words, about his look, about how he knew details he shouldn't have known. Meanwhile, Oscar sat in his car across the street from her house and stared at the lighted window of her bedroom. He could see her walking around the apartment getting ready for bed. He knew her routine better than she thought. He wasn't going to give up. Tom and his threats didn't scare him. He would find a way to be with her again. He would prove to her that they were meant for each other. Oscar Carlson was a man who had felt invisible his entire life. A failed marriage, a boring job, no friends. Vanessa was the first woman who seemed to see something special in him. He couldn't let that disappear. He didn't understand that what he thought was love was a painful obsession, that his behavior was scaring the woman he thought he loved, that every step he took was bringing them closer to tragedy. 6 months had passed since she last saw Oscar, and Vanessa began to think that it was all over. She was wrong. The first sign that something was wrong was the flowers. White roses appeared at the entrance to the dental clinic on Monday morning. No note, no signature. Dr. Henderson thought they were from a grateful patient. "How nice," he said. "Someone must be very happy with our work." But Vanessa knew better. White roses were Oscar's calling card. He had found her real job. On Tuesday, the flowers appeared at her house. On Wednesday, they were on her windshield, each time without a note, but the message was clear. "I know where you are." On Thursday, Vanessa couldn't take it anymore and called Tom. "He's back," she said. "Flowers every day. He knows where I work, where I live." "Maybe it's not him," Tom suggested, but there was doubt in his voice. White roses, Tom. Just like the ones at the motel. Okay, I'll talk to him. Do you know how to find him? I have his phone number and address. All clients fill out a form. Tom didn't tell Vanessa that he had already tried to contact Oscar last week. The phone number was disconnected, and no one lived at the address he had given. Oscar Carlson had provided false information. On Friday morning, Vanessa woke up to a knock on the door. She looked at the clock. It was 6:30. Too early for the mailman or a courier. She went to the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there, but there was a box wrapped in beautiful paper on the doorstep. Vanessa didn't open the door until she heard the car drive away. Only then did she carefully pick up the box. Inside was a photograph. Vanessa recognized herself. She was leaving the library last week. The photograph had been taken from a distance, but it was clear enough to see her face. On the back was written, "You're beautiful, even when you don't know you're being photographed." Oh, Vanessa's hands trembled as she dialed the police number. But then she stopped. What would she say? That a former client from an escort agency was stalking her? That would expose her second life and ruin her reputation in a small town. Instead, she called Tom. "He took a picture of me," she said. "He's following me." "Okay, that's enough. I'm going to the police." "No, Tom, it will ruin us both." "Then what do you suggest?" "I don't know, but not the police." Tom was silent. He knew she was right. Police involvement would mean the end of his business and his reputation. "Maybe I should talk to him myself." "You said you couldn't find him." "If he's watching you, I'll find him sooner or later." Michael arrived on Saturday. Vanessa was so happy to see him that she almost cried. She needed a normal person in her life, someone who saw her as a sister, not a commodity. "You look terrible," he said, hugging her. "What's going on?" "Problems at work. A difficult patient." "A patient? At a dental clinic?" Vanessa realized she had said too much. "Not a patient, just a nasty person. Long story." Michael studied her face. At 21, he was old enough to know when his sister was hiding something important. "Vanessa, if you're having problems, you can tell me. I won't judge you. It's okay, just stress." They spent the day together, walking around town and having lunch at a cafe on Main Street. For the first time in a week, Vanessa felt normal. But as they were returning to her house, she noticed a familiar blue pickup truck parked across the street. "Michael," she said quietly, "don't turn around, but we're being followed." "What?" "The blue pickup truck. It was here when we left." Michael looked cautiously. "Are you sure?" "Yes." "Do you want me to go talk to him?" "Number. Let's go home." But when they entered the apartment, Vanessa saw that the bedroom door was ajar. She was sure she had closed it before leaving. "Michael," she whispered, "someone was here." Michael grabbed a baseball bat from the hallway and cautiously walked through the apartment. No one was there, but there was another photo on the bed. This time it was Vanessa and Michael in a cafe having lunch. "What's this?" Michael asked. "Someone took our picture today." "Who?" Vanessa couldn't hide it anymore. She told her brother about her second job, about meeting Oscar, about how he had been stalking her. Michael listened silently. When she finished, he didn't speak for a long time. "Why didn't you tell me?" he finally asked. "I didn't want you to think badly of me. You're my sister. I love you no matter what you do. But, no buts. We're going to the police. Right now." "Michael, I can't. It will ruin my life." "Your life is already ruined. This psycho is breaking into your house, stalking you. What's next?" Vanessa knew he was right, but her fear of exposure was stronger than her fear of Oscar. "Let's try another way first." "What?" "Tom said he'd talk to him." "Tom is the one who got you into this?" "He's trying to help." Michael shook his head. "Vanessa, you're living in a fantasy world. This man has broken the law. He's stalking you, breaking into your home. The police are your only option." They argued until evening. Michael insisted on going to the police. Vanessa resisted. In the end, they agreed to wait until morning. But the morning brought new problems. When Vanessa woke up, Michael was not at home. There was a note on the kitchen table. "Gone to look for that jerk. Be back soon." Vanessa panicked. Michael did not know what Oscar looked like or where to look for him. But he was smart enough to start at the auto repair shop. Sam's garage was an old building on Oak Street. Michael found it easily. He walked in and saw a man in overalls working under the hood of a car. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Oscar Carlson." The man straightened up. It was Sam, the owner of the shop. "Oscar? He doesn't work here anymore." "When did he quit?" "About a month ago. He was acting strange, didn't show up for work. We had to let him go. Do you know where I can find him?" "Number, who are you?" "A friend. He owes me money." Sam shook his head. "Good luck. The guy's not himself. All he's talked about for the last few months is some girl. He said she loved him but couldn't be with him because of her job." Michael felt his stomach tighten. "What girl?" "I don't know, but he carried her picture in his wallet. He showed it to everyone and said she was his fiancée." Michael returned home, feeling uneasy. The situation was worse than he had thought. Oscar wasn't just stalking Vanessa. He had created an entire alternate world in his head where they were a couple. "We're going to the police," he said, "today. Michael, number. This man is dangerous. He lost his job because of his obsession with you. He's been breaking into your house. He's been taking pictures of us. Enough is enough." Vanessa realized she had no choice. Her fear of Oscar finally outweighed her fear of exposure. But just as they were about to leave, the phone rang. Vanessa answered. "Hi, Vanessa." Oscar's voice was calm, almost gentle. "How did you get my number?" "It doesn't matter. What matters is that we need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "Of course we do. About us. About our future." "What future? You're a sick man. Leave me alone." "I know you're upset, but I can explain everything. Let's meet tonight." "No. Vanessa, don't make me do something I don't want to do." "What do you mean?" "I know about your brother. Michael, 21 years old, studying law, a good guy. It would be a shame if something happened to him." Vanessa felt the blood drain from her face. "Are you threatening my brother?" "I just want to talk. Meet me at the lake 9 o'clock tonight. Come alone." "What if I don't come?" "Then I'll tell the whole town what you do. Every neighbor, every patient at the clinic, every classmate of your brother's." The line went dead. Vanessa stood with the phone in her hand, realizing she was trapped. "What did he say?" Michael asked. "He wants to meet. He's threatening you and saying he'll tell everyone about my job." "Okay, we're definitely going to the police." "Michael, it's too late. If we go to the police, he'll carry out his threat. My life in this town will be ruined." "Then what do you suggest?" Vanessa stared out the window at the quiet streets of Willbrook. The town she wanted to leave had now become a prison. Oscar was keeping her on a leash with his threats. "I'll meet with him," she said quietly. "What? That's crazy." "Maybe I can convince him. Explain that there's nothing between us." "Vanessa, you don't understand. This man is living in a fantasy world. He won't listen to reason." "Then what should I do?" Michael hugged his sister. "We'll find a way out, but not tonight, not alone." But Vanessa had already made up her mind. She would meet Oscar and try to end this nightmare once and for all. She didn't know that her decision would lead to tragedy. Meanwhile, Oscar Carlson sat in his empty apartment and planned the meeting. He was sure that tonight he would finally be able to explain to Vanessa that they were meant for each other, that all the obstacles between them could be overcome. He didn't understand that for Vanessa he wasn't a lover but a source of fear, that his love was a prison, not liberation. Oscar Carlson was ready to do anything to get the woman he considered his, and if she didn't understand that willingly, he would make her understand. The pier at Willow Lake was deserted after sunset. Old wooden planks creaked underfoot, and water lapped quietly against the pilings. As a child, Vanessa often came here with Michael to fish. Now the place seemed eerie in the moonlight. It was 10 minutes to 9 when she parked her car by the shore. Oscar was nowhere to be seen, but she sensed he was nearby, watching, waiting. Vanessa took out her phone and sent Michael a message. "Everything's fine. Wait for my call in an hour." She didn't tell her brother where she was going, but left a note in the apartment in case something went wrong. The cold October wind stirred the waves on the lake. Vanessa shivered and pulled her jacket tighter around her. She had put on jeans and a sweater, no hint of Tiffany, just the ordinary clothes of an ordinary woman. Maybe that would help Oscar realize that his fantasies were unfounded. The sound of footsteps on the gravel made her turn around. A dark figure emerged from behind the trees. Even in the dim light, she recognized his gait. Vanessa. Oscar's voice was soft, almost tender. You came. I came. Now let's talk and get this over with. He came closer, and now she could see his face. Oscar looked worse than the last time she had seen him. Unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes, his clothes rumpled, but his eyes still burned with the same fanatical fire. You're using your real name, he said. I like it. Vanessa is prettier than Tiffany. How did you find out my name? It wasn't hard. I followed you, saw you go to work. I asked at the clinic if there was an administrator named Vanessa. The nice girl at the front desk said yes, Vanessa Reynolds, a very good employee. Vanessa felt sick. He didn't just know where she worked. He talked to her co-workers. How many other people know? No one knows about your second job if that's what you're worried about. Not yet, anyway. The threat hung in the air between them. Vanessa decided to try a direct approach. Oscar, listen to me carefully. What we had was just work. Nothing personal. I don't know you. You don't know me. We don't have a relationship. Don't say that. Oscar's voice grew harsher. I know how you feel. I saw it in your eyes. You saw professionalism. I was doing the job I was paid to do. Lies. Oscar took a step closer. You can't pretend that what we had wasn't real. The connection, the understanding. There was no connection. There was. He grabbed her by the shoulders. I felt it. You felt it too. Stop lying to yourself. Vanessa tried to break free, but his grip was strong. Let me go. No. Not until you hear the truth. What truth? That we belong together. That everything else is nonsense. Your job, other people's opinions, even your brother, none of it matters. All that matters is the two of us. Vanessa looked into his eyes and saw madness there. Not anger, not lust, madness. He truly believed what he was saying. Oscar, I'm sorry, but there's nothing between us. There never has been, and there never will be. Don't say that. His voice became pleading. We can leave here. Start a new life somewhere where no one knows about your past. I don't want to leave with you. Why? Because of what you did? I don't care. I forgive you. You forgive me? Vanessa felt a flash of anger. What do you forgive me for? For being with other men, for selling yourself. But that's in the past. Now, you'll be mine. I've never been yours and I never will be. You're a sick man. Oscar's face contorted. Sick. I'm the only one who sees you as more than a commodity. I love you. That's not love. That's obsession. Don't you dare tell me how I feel. He shook her so hard that she lost her balance. Vanessa fell to her knees on the wooden planks of the pier. Oscar, stop. You're making things worse. Worse. He stood over her, his silhouette against the starry sky. What you did was worse. Letting those men touch you for money, but I'm willing to forget that. I didn't ask you to forget. I asked you to leave me alone. Never. He leaned down and grabbed her hand. You're mine. You've been mine since that first night. Vanessa tried to stand up, but he pushed her back down. We're leaving today, he said. I've got everything ready. The car, the money, the plan. I'm not going anywhere with you. You will, because if you don't, your brother will suffer. You wouldn't dare. I'll do anything for us. Vanessa realized that talking was useless. She stood up abruptly and tried to run to the car, but Oscar was faster. He caught up with her at the edge of the shore and knocked her to the ground. Where are you going? We're not done talking. Let me go! Vanessa punched him, scratched him, tried to break free. Stop fighting! I don't want to hurt you! Then let me go! I can't. You don't understand. Without you, I have no life. They rolled around on the ground, fighting. Vanessa was stronger than she looked, but Oscar was bigger. Gradually, he pinned her to the ground. Calm down, he said, gasping for breath. Just calm down. Get off me. No, you'll listen to me. You'll understand. Vanessa found a rock and hit him over the head with it. Oscar recoiled, clutching his head. Blood flowed from the wound. You hit me. I'll hit you again if you don't get off me. She stood up and backed toward the car. Oscar slowly got up, still holding his head. "You shouldn't have done that. I warned you. I wanted to do this the easy way. I wanted you to understand." "Understand what?" "That you belong to me." He took a step toward her, and Vanessa saw something new in his eyes. Cold determination. "If you can't be with me willingly, then I'll make you." "No." Vanessa continued to back away. "Oscar, think about what you're doing." "I've been thinking for 2 years, every day, every minute, only about you." "That's an illness. You need help. I need you." He lunged at her again. This time, Vanessa didn't have time to dodge him. They fell right at the edge of the water. The cold lake water burned her face. "Stop!" she screamed. "Help! Someone!" "There's no one here," Oscar said. "It's just the two of us, just as it should be." He pinned her to the ground with all his weight. Vanessa could feel the stones digging into her back. "If I can't have you," he whispered, "no one will." Vanessa saw the glint of metal in his hand. A knife. Where did he get a knife? "Oscar, no!" "I'm sorry, I didn't want it to end like this." The blade pierced her stomach. The pain was overwhelming, her whole body convulsing. Vanessa tried to scream, but only a hoarse sound came out of her throat. "Hush," Oscar whispered. "It'll be over soon." The knife struck again. And again. Blood flowed into the cold lake water, staining it dark. Vanessa looked up at the stars above her and thought of Michael. Who would tell him what had happened? Who would explain why she hadn't come home? Her breathing grew heavier. The world blurred, the sounds faded. The last thing she saw was Oscar's face leaning over her. He was crying. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry." And then darkness fell. The body was found the next morning. Gerald Thompson, a local fisherman, arrived at Willow Lake at dawn, as he had done every weekend for the past 20 years. He saw something on the shore near the dock and at first thought it was trash that someone had thrown away. But when he got closer, he realized his mistake. A young woman was lying face up in a pool of dried blood. Her brown hair was scattered across the rocks, her green eyes staring up at the sky. Dark holes gaped in her white sweater. Gerald took out his phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. "Police? I found a dead woman at Willow Lake." "Oh." Patrol officers Dave Connor and Maria Santos were the first to arrive at the scene. They cordoned off the area with yellow tape and waited for the detectives. "Who do you think she is?" Connor asked. "I don't know," Santos replied. "She's young. She was pretty. What kind of bastard would do this?" Detective Sarah Mitchell arrived half an hour later. A 42-year-old woman with graying hair and tired eyes. She had seen enough murders in her 15 years on the force. But this case seemed special to her from the start. "What do we have?" she asked Santos. "Vanessa Reynolds, 28 years old, found by a fisherman around 7 this morning, multiple stab wounds." "Any ID on her?" "Driver's license in her jeans pocket. The car's parked over there." Santos pointed to an old Honda Civic. Sarah approached the body. Vanessa was lying next to the water, but not in it. The struggle had taken place on the shore. Traces of blood led from the pier to the spot where the body was found. "It looks like she tried to run away," Sarah muttered. "He caught up with her here." "He?" "Footprints. Men's boots. Size 11, I'd say. And look at her hands." Santos looked closer. There was blood under Vanessa's fingernails and abrasions on her knuckles. She fought back. "Yes, she may have scratched the killer. We need to take samples." The coroner arrived around 9, Dr. Frank Miller, an elderly man who had been working in the county for 30 years. "Preliminary findings indicate that death occurred last night between 9 and 11, he told Sarah. 7 stab wounds, 2 of them fatal. The killer used a knife with a fixed blade, approximately 15 centimeters long." "Sexual assault?" "Not likely. The clothes aren't torn, there are no visible signs, but I'll know for sure after the autopsy." Sarah nodded. "Not robbery. The wallet with money and credit cards was still there. Not rape. Then what?" "Detective Mitchell?" The patrolman waved her over from the victim's car. "There's something here." In the front seat of the Honda was an envelope with the name Michael on it. Sarah carefully opened it. Michael, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. I'm meeting a man who's been stalking me. His name is Oscar Carlson. If anything happens to me, find him. He used to work at Sam's auto shop on Oak Street. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything. I love you, Vanessa. Sarah read the note twice. The victim knew she was going to meet her potential killer, but she went anyway. Why? Santos, find this Michael. According to the documents, he's her brother. And find out everything you can about Oscar Carlson. Got it. Sarah walked around the crime scene once more. Something wasn't right here. If Vanessa knew she was in danger, why did she go alone? Why didn't she call the police? The answers to these questions, as she would soon discover, lay hidden in the victim's secret life. A life that even her brother knew nothing about. Michael Reynolds sat in the hallway of the Willbrook police station, holding a cup of cold coffee. 6 hours had passed since 2 officers knocked on Vanessa's door and told him the news that had shattered his world. Detective Mitchell came out of her office and sat down next to him. In her eyes, he saw professional sympathy that nevertheless seemed genuine. Michael, I know this is hard for you right now, but we need to talk. Did you find him? Michael's voice was hoarse with tears. We're working on it. But first, tell me about the note your sister left. Michael closed his eyes. She told me she was meeting someone. I tried to stop her, but she wouldn't listen. Did she mention her problems with this Oscar? Yes. He was stalking her, taking pictures, breaking into her apartment. Michael opened his eyes and looked at the detective. But there's something else. Something she only told me yesterday. Sarah took out her notebook. I'm listening. My sister worked for an escort agency. That's where she met this psycho. Sarah didn't show any surprise, although this information explained a lot. How long had she been doing that? About 2 years. She said she was saving money to leave town. Do you know the name of the agency? The owner's name is Tom Jackson. He's a former cop. Sarah wrote down the name. Tom Jackson was familiar to her. A good cop in the past, he had been fired 5 years ago under strange circumstances. There were rumors of links to prostitution, but nothing had ever been proven. Michael, did your sister say why she decided to meet Oscar alone? He threatened her. He said he'd hurt me and tell everyone about her job if she didn't come. And she went to protect you. Michael nodded, unable to speak. At that moment, a patrol car pulled up outside Sam's auto repair shop on Oak Street. Officers Connor and Santos got out and headed toward the building. Sam Wilkins, the shop owner, was wiping his hands with a rag when they approached. Officers? Is something wrong? We're looking for information about Oscar Carlson. We're told he worked here. Sam's face darkened. That lunatic? Yes, he worked here. Until last month. Tell us about him. He was a good mechanic, I'll give him that. But he was a strange guy. He'd been acting like a maniac for the last few months. He talked about some girl all the time and showed us her picture. Do you have his address? Sure. But I doubt he's still living there. When I fired him, he said he was moving. Sam gave them the address. A small apartment in an old part of town. When the officers arrived, the landlord confirmed their suspicions. Carlson? He moved out 3 weeks ago, didn't say where, left the apartment in terrible condition. Can we take a look? Please. I'm planning to renovate it anyway. What they saw in the apartment prompted them to call Detective Mitchell immediately. The walls were covered with photos of Vanessa. Hundreds of pictures taken from a distance. Vanessa leaving her house, going to work, shopping for groceries, sitting in a cafe with Michael. In the corner of the room was a bed, and next to it was an altar of candles and flowers surrounding an enlarged photograph of Vanessa. My God, whispered Santos. Sarah arrived half an hour later and carefully examined the apartment. It was the lair of an obsessed person. On the table were notes about Vanessa's daily routine, a map with places she had been marked on it, and even copies of receipts from places where she had shopped. He's been following her for months, Sarah said, systematically, methodically. In the bedroom, she found Oscar's diary, page after page of descriptions of his feelings for Vanessa, plans for their future together, fantasies about their life together. March 15th. Today I met her, Tiffany, the most beautiful woman in the world. She looked at me like no one has ever looked at me before. I know we are meant for each other. March 28th. She's avoiding me. Tom says she's busy, but I know the truth. She's afraid of her feelings, afraid to admit what's between us. April 10th. I found out her real name, Vanessa. It sounds so beautiful. Vanessa Carlson, Mrs. Oscar Carlson. The entries became increasingly delusional as time went on. Oscar described conversations with Vanessa that never happened, planned their wedding, and chose names for their children. If I can't convince her with words, I'll have to use force. She'll understand later. When we're together, she'll realize I was right. The last entry was dated yesterday afternoon. Today, everything will be decided. Either she agrees to be with me or I can't live without her, and she can't live without me. Sarah closed the diary. The picture was clear. They had a classic case of obsession that had turned into murder. "We need to find Tom Jackson," she said to Connor, "and find out where Oscar is." Tom Jackson lived in a small house on the outskirts of town. When Sarah knocked on the door, he opened it almost immediately, as if he had been waiting. "Detective Mitchell?" I heard the news. What a terrible tragedy. Tom was a large man in his mid-40s with graying hair and alert eyes. His posture and manner of speaking betrayed his former career as a police officer. "I need to talk to you about Vanessa Reynolds." "Come in." The house was modestly furnished. On the walls hung photographs of Tom in police uniform and awards for service. There was nothing to indicate any illegal activity. "Did you know about Vanessa's problems with Oscar Carlson?" Sarah asked. "I did. I warned her he was dangerous." "Why didn't you go to the police?" Tom paused. "It's hard to explain without revealing the nature of our business." "Tell me about your business." "I run an escort agency. Nothing illegal, just accompanying men to events, keeping lonely men company. No prostitution." Sarah nodded, not showing her skepticism. "How long had Vanessa been working for you?" "Almost 2 years. She was a good girl, smart. She was saving money for college." "Tell me about your first meeting with Oscar." Tom told her how Oscar became a client, about his strange behavior, and his decision to stop seeing him. "I should have done more," he said at the end. "I should have protected her." "Where can we find Oscar?" "I don't know." After I told him not to contact the agency, he disappeared. Sarah left Tom her card and asked him to call if he remembered anything. The search for Oscar continued for 2 days. His pickup truck was found abandoned in a parking lot at a shopping center in a neighboring town. There were traces of blood in the car and a knife that appeared to have been used to kill Vanessa. Oscar turned himself in on Wednesday morning. He came to the police station on his own, looking exhausted and confused. "I want to turn myself in," he told the officer on duty. Sarah was called immediately. She found Oscar in the interrogation room sitting with his head down. "Oscar Carlson?" He looked up. Sarah saw the scratches on his face and hands, traces of his struggle with Vanessa. "Yes." "Do you know why you're here?" "Because of Vanessa." Sarah turned on the tape recorder and read him his rights. Oscar refused a lawyer. "Tell me what happened on Monday night." "I didn't mean to kill her," Oscar said quietly. "I loved her." "But you killed her." "She wouldn't listen. She wouldn't understand that we were meant for each other." "Tell me more." Oscar told her about the meeting at the lake, how they argued, how Vanessa tried to run away. "She hit me with a rock. She said she would never be with me." "And what did you do?" "I lost control. I took out the knife. I brought it for protection. I wasn't going to use it. But you used it. If I couldn't have her, no one could. She'd rather die than be with other men." Sarah felt disgust, but continued the interrogation professionally. "What did you do after the murder?" "I sat next to her. I talked to her. I apologized. For how long? I don't know. An hour, maybe more. Then I realized I had to leave." "Where have you been for the last 2 days?" "In the woods, at my grandfather's old cabin, thinking about what to do." "And you decided to turn yourself in?" Oscar nodded. "Without her, life has no meaning. Prison is better." A psychiatric evaluation conducted by Dr. Elizabeth Harris revealed that Oscar was suffering from erotomania, a delusional disorder in which the patient is convinced that another person is in love with them. "The patient has created an alternative reality in his mind," she wrote in her report. In his understanding, the victim reciprocated his feelings, but external circumstances prevented their relationship from developing. When this illusion was shattered, he resorted to violence. The trial began 6 months later. Oscar's lawyer tried to have him declared insane, but an expert opinion found that he understood the illegality of his actions. Michael attended every hearing. He wanted to look his sister's killer in the eye and understand how this could have happened. "I can't forgive him," he told Sarah after one of the hearings, "but I'm trying to understand. Vanessa was a good person. She just got caught up in a bad situation. Your sister was a victim. No one deserves to die like that, no matter what they do." Tom Jackson closed his agency after the murder. He sold his house and left Willbrook. "I can't live here anymore," he told Sarah. "Too many memories." Oscar was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. When the judge read the sentence, he sat motionless, staring into space. "Do you have anything to say?" the judge asked. "I loved her," Oscar said. "That's all that matters." After the trial, Michael stayed in Wilbraham to sort out his sister's affairs. In her apartment, he found a letter addressed to him. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. No matter how, I wanted you to know the truth. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm not ashamed either. I did what I could to survive and help our family. Use the money I saved to finish your education. Become a lawyer, help people. Don't let my death ruin your life. I will always love you, Vanessa." Attached to the letter was a key to a safe deposit box. Inside, Michael found $50,000 and a note, "For your education and a better life." A year later, Michael transferred to a law school in another state. He specialized in defending victims of domestic violence and stalking. "My sister couldn't get the help she needed," he told his colleagues. "I want other women to have that opportunity." Detective Mitchell continued to work in Wilbraham. The Vanessa Reynolds case became one of the most difficult of her career, not because of the forensic challenges, but because of the human tragedy it represented. "It was a preventable death," she told a local newspaper reporter. "If the victim hadn't been afraid to seek help because of her job, if we as a society had a better understanding of stalking psychology, Vanessa might still be alive." Oscar Carlson was serving his sentence in state prison. He did not receive visitors or write letters. Prison psychologists noted that he continued to live in his fantasies about Vanessa. "He still believes she loved him," said Dr. Robert Kane, a prison psychiatrist. "In his mind, he's not a murderer, he's a tragic romantic hero." Vanessa Reynolds' story became a warning to the small town of Willbrook. People began to talk more about domestic violence, about the signs of dangerous behavior, about how to help victims of stalking.